Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will look at multiplying and dividing algebraic fractions. Remember, a fraction is algebraic if it just has pronumerals. So we use the same rules for algebraic fractions that we do for normal fractions. So for normal fractions, if you want to multiply them, it's really easy. You just multiply the tops, 3 times 5, multiply the bottom, 4 times 7. Easy. Now, sometimes you want to cancel factors to make life easier. So let's look at 32 over 81, divide 56 over 27. So when you're dividing fractions, you always leave the first fraction alone, but you flip the second fraction and you change the division to times. So if I was doing this in my head, it'd be so much easier to cancel common factors rather than trying to do 81 times 56 in my head. What we do is we find common factors. So 32 and 56, they both have a common factor of 8. 8 goes into both of them. 8 goes into 32 4 times. So I've divided 32 by 8 and I've divided 56 by 8. I can do that. I can do anything I want to the top as long as I do the same to the bottom. So I divided a top number by 8, I need to divide a bottom number by 8. Similarly for 27 and 81, 27 goes into itself once and it goes into 81 3 times. I can do that because I divided top by 27, but I also divided a number on the bottom by 27. So now this is so much simpler. Instead of having to multiply in my head 32 by 27, I just do 4 times 1, which is 4, on the bottom 3 times 7, which is 21, and I'm done. So let's look at some algebraic fractions. X over 3 times x over 4. So for multiplying, just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. How easy is that? All right, so let's look at x plus 1 times 30 over 45 times x. So I might use cancelling here. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, you can't cancel the x's here. You can only cancel something being multiplied. Unfortunately here, x is being added to 1, so you can't just cross them out. You can, however, cancel with the 30 and the 45. 15 goes into 30 twice, goes into 45 3 times. This just makes life easier. So what we end up with is 2x plus 1 on top, and on the bottom is 3x. So we can't simplify that any further. There's no common factors. X and x plus 1 actually don't have common factors. There's nothing that you can multiply by x to get x plus 1. So we leave our answer there. All right, let's look at this one here. So a division. When you're dividing fractions, you flip the second fraction and make it a times. You always leave the first unchanged, but you flip the second fraction, make it a times. So let's use cancelling. 7 goes into itself once, goes into 28 4 times. You can cancel anything on the top and with anything on the bottom as long as they are being multiplied. So a squared and a to the power of 4. Well, they have a common factor of a squared. A squared divide a squared is 1. A to the power of 4 divide a squared is a squared. Because remember our index law, if you're dividing bases like this, a is the base, you subtract the powers. So what that means is our final answer can be calculated really easily. It's just going to be 4 over a squared, and we're done. All right, let's look at a harder question that requires some factorization. So let's look at simplifying these algebraic fractions here. So because we are dividing, we keep the first fraction the same, then we flip the second fraction, and then we change the division to times. So we could just multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and then we're all good. The problem is that would take a lot of effort, and it would be unnecessary effort. What we want to do to save ourselves having to multiply out long expressions like this, we want to factorize. We want to be able to find factors so that we can cancel. So let's start by factorizing x squared minus 5x plus 6. Well, it's a quadratic trinomial, so we find two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to negative 5. So those two numbers are negative 2 and negative 3. All right, let's factorize x squared minus 2x. So that's highest common factor. X is the common factor. All right, x squared minus 1 is difference of two squares. So it'll be x minus 1 times x plus 1. And then we're going to factorize x squared minus 2x minus 3. So two numbers that multiply to negative 3 and add to negative 2, negative 3 and positive 1. Okay, so now what we do is we look for common factors. So x minus 2 and x minus 2. I can cancel out, one's on the top, one's on the bottom. I can cancel out one on the top with one on the bottom, one on the top with one on the bottom. So what I'm just left with is x minus 1 over x. I didn't have to do any really long multiplication for that. So this can't be simplified. Again, you can't cross out the x's because x is not being multiplied here. This is our final answer. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.